All right, time now to take a look at the Supercharged Foods WIAA high school football wrap-up. And boy, we finally got a great Friday night under the lights. Felt like football weather for the first time basically all year. The mosquitoes were gone. Fall was kind of in season. You can see the trees are turning. And we're 6 weeks now into the WIAA football season. Only 3 weeks left to go. And what do we got? Yeah, a 3-week tie at the top of the Big 8 conference. Wow.
Couldn't believe it myself when you look at where we are in the schedule already, and yeah, you have Memorial, Sun Prairie, and Janesville Craig all atop the Big 8 with 5-1 records, and they've all clinched playoff spots. So some things will kind of sift out through the remainder of the schedule here. But interesting to note some of those scores, if we want to kind of hit on some of these scores that we've seen. Middleton blanking Janesville Parker, who's the only team eliminated from playoff contention right now. Craig getting Madison East 34-6, so that was big. Verona hands Memorial its first loss, 28-10. The Wildcats took a 14-10 halftime lead there, Rich. It rotated defenders to stay fresh against those Spartan receivers, which we've seen have been pretty darn good this year.
Yeah, we've seen both of those teams in action this year, and I like that Verona team. I think they're well-balanced. I think offensively, defensively, they look really good. So Verona just a game out of first place, trailing Sun Prairie, who destroyed La Follette the other night. Sun Prairie, after that Week 1 loss to Memorial, they've been red hot.
Yeah, Sun Prairie, I mean, they're just handling La Follette 50-6. Cardinals, they clinched their 15th straight playoff berth, and they're on the road to at least a share of their third straight conference title. Sun Prairie scored on an interception return for a touchdown, a fumble return, and a safety all in the third quarter, so that defense definitely working for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good football team. And again, that was kind of a shock, that Week 1 score. I keep going back to it, but that's why we got that 3-way tie at the top of the Big 8 conference.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get to see, actually in the Big 8 coming up, one of those teams that is tied for first, and that's Janesville Craig at Middleton. That is our game in the A1 Furniture and Mattress Bowl Series. And I'm kind of interested to see Janesville Craig. We've seen Middleton at the top of the conference before, but Craig, kind of a shocker this year.
Yeah, I think different, shockers for different reasons for both these teams. Craig, you didn't maybe think coming into the season they would be at this point in the season where they are in the standings. But Middleton, they've had some tough losses. They had that loss on a Hail Mary to Madison Memorial earlier in the year. So they could easily be up in that, booth there looking at down on the conference, Yeah. So that'll definitely be a key game, and we'll be there.
Yeah, we had a trivia question earlier. I mean, Middleton and Sun Prairie, we're used to seeing the Cardinals flying at the top of the Big 8 conference. All right, we check now into the Badger North Conference, and once again, hey, Wanakee continues to roll. They steamroll Sauk Prairie. I mean, what else can you say about the Warriors?
I was going to say, I don't even really need to go in depth on that one. I think we'll kind of look at, back on the season and say, well, they outscored their opponents 1,000,000-0. It's just how they have done things over the season and in history here. But how about Mount Horeb Barneveld getting a big high-scoring win over Reedsburg?
Points in that
Come on.
Game.
Who took the over?
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Malik Winston had 31 carries, the running back from Mount Horeb Barneveld, 161 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, come on, this guy has just been a stud. That offense has been rolling, and they're 5-1.
Yeah, Mount Horeb's only loss, to Wanakee in a game that had a running clock in the second half. I mean, that's the separation there in the Badger North Conference between Wanakee and everybody else right now.
I'm hoping we'll see some of those games. I'm sure we'll see Wanakee in the postseason here on our broadcast at some point. But I want to see them not be humbled, but to have a competitive game and have them face some adversity. I want to see what they do when they're faced with that kind of stuff, because right now they've had no resistance.
Yeah, nobody is stopping them at all. Hey, DeForest a win over Baraboo, 42-7 there. DeForest is a team that actually lost to a team that we saw this past week, and that is Oregon. And man, Coach Dan Kissling's got himself a football team down there. That was a pretty surprising game against Stoughton. Not surprising that Oregon won, but surprising the way that they won. They made it look easy.
I think maybe one of the most noteworthy things to say about that game is Adam Hobson, the Stoughton quarterback, just didn't look like himself. His passes were wobbly. They weren't on target. They were overthrown. They started getting the running game together. Those stats were pretty even when you look at both teams, and the scoreboard, but I mean, man, Oregon just handled that game. They had a 4th down conversion they decided to go for, and that was a Dan Kissling call that was, hey, this is going to make or break this game right now. They end up completing the pass down inside the 10-yard line, end up getting a touchdown, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, that, a couple of turnovers, and I was kind of surprised, too, at how easily Oregon was able to move the football against what is a pretty good Stoughton defense. They just looked out of sorts all night long.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about that during the broadcast if you've been watching, and that was Stoughton's schedule. Just the first half of it was pretty easy. Oregon's was the opposite kind of way, and now they kind of have that opposite schedule happening in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to see what those teams are made of, where those teams are going to be, and right now, by the way, they're tied in the standings. So.
Yeah. And that will decide the Badger South Conference as we see Monona Grove still undefeated. They top Monroe pretty easily there. Watertown still a force. Yeah, they're 5-1, and they are going to be at Stoughton. So that's the big game in the Badger South Conference coming up this weekend. And again, it's going to decide a lot of what happens inside this conference.
We'll see that, and then we'll have, as you mentioned, Janesville Craig and Middleton this week, and then we'll have that broadcast for you, and then we're talking about playoffs pretty soon. So.
Yeah, a lot of playoff talk, a lot of good stuff as we're wrapping up this season. This has been the Supercharged WIAA Football Wrap-Up.